So maybe I should present myself first. My name is Kristoffer Bjo rkman. It's hard in English. This is an O with two dots. How many are you in English here? You're in English? You're okay, there's some of you guys. Okay. So, I'm pretty much born as a rebel from the beginning, from the first beginning. I don't know exactly why it's happened to be like that, but that's who I am. And I'm driven by making a difference. I'm making sense in some way. So I would like to change things. And especially I love to overturn things that doesn't work. You know, to just change traditional, conventional industries and stuff. And that in combination with I'm purely entrepreneurial. I have a lot of passion, a lot of energy, and I love to work, and I have all this persist, and I love to serve people and so on. There's an author called Sir Richard something who wrote the book called The 8 to Great. And that's 8 stuff that you need to be an entrepreneur now. So that's pretty much me. And when I finished high school, I would like to be a journalist, because I thought the journalist would be the best way to change things, make sense and make something different, right? So I started to work as a journalist on, as a matter of fact, one of the biggest papers here in Stockholm called Dagens Nyheter. And their local versions of this paper. So I started to do that, and I was writing stories and articles, and I was also taking photos. I was working as a photographer. They were more or less the same thing. And I did that for like 4 years. And but eventually I just working as a journalist. I started working as a journalist as a feature reporter instead. So I started a magazine called Edge Sports Magazine, which is more like a feature magazine. It's all about, guess what? Daredevil sports and surfing and skateboarding stuff, because that's what part of me, because I'm kind of a daredevil as well. So I was working with that and as a journalist, and I became an editor for that, an editor-in-chief, and we also started Edge TV, and we also started Edge on the web. And after that, I bought all this, this media concept, and I sold it like half a year to a company called Spray Interactive. And are you familiar with Spray Interactive? I think Peter, have you seen this presentation that Peter showed you? No, not yet? Okay, I think he's talking about Spray, because that's where I met Peter from the beginning. And so what I did, I just sold it to that and started to do other things within that. But that's our first step into this interactive web industry, more or less. And that was in '97. And as a matter of fact, that was a really adventurous journey for me. And I founded a company called Mr. Jet, which is a booking engine to just book journey, how do you say? Travels, whatever, yeah, never mind. So it's very simple, we are 2 persons who would like to fly to New York this date and search for the lowest price, and we were just connecting this service into 4 kind of a global distribution system like Amadeus, Galileo, and WorldSpan, and so on. So we can allow people to search for their own prices, the lowest prices within this global distribution systems without a travel agency. And so we were really excited and working with the travel information system in German, some really hardcore technicians there. And we launched that '97 something, and we thought it would be a really great boom, and absolutely nothing happened. It was a totally disaster, it was a great failure. And it was like year over year, because no one had used it. This happens to be a very popular search engine to find out the lowest price. But when people find this on this strange orange website, web for them was very, very weird. So they give the travel agent the phone call and ask. I did found this very, very cheap travel, whatever. Ticket to New York, have you got it? And they went into the same system manually and found it, and they went to this travel agent and bought the tickets. So it took years for these people to just buy the tickets in these booking engines. So that was a great failure. As another great failure was after that started SF Anytime, which is a video on demand service, and I did that in the beginning of 2000. And I think is anyone using Headweb or Waddler or something? No, you downloaded it. So it was a great it was a really great failure then. But of course, you won't go to these shops to find this kind of movies or rent the movies. You're doing this on demand on the web, absolutely. But I was before my time. And after that, I also founded the web TV solution on the TV4, one of the biggest TV stations here, and it was also a great failure. So I realized what I'm doing here is just launching great failures all the time, or at least I was, launching things that was too early in stage. But all of these happens now, more or less. So and after that, 2003, I came up with an idea, and that was my news desk. And I thought it must be a better way for journalists like me, because I was kind of a journalist, former journalist. It must be a better way for journalists to access to all this content that companies producing all the time, right? Because when you're working as a journalist back then, you realize that there was tons of companies producing all this stuff, all this content that could be a great source for you as a journalist to, make stories on. But you didn't get anything of this. They were sending some postals and some mails eventually, and most of these mails was crap. And then realized, so when I was working as an Edge Sports magazine, for an example, you can imagine the snowboarding, skiing industry with Quicksilver, Salomon, Nordica, and all these guys. They have team riders and stuff, and they're producing photos and videos and stuff, and I didn't get anything, absolutely anything. And by then, I couldn't even search for it. So I thought, let's create an exchange platform instead, a sharing platform, an exchange site for that. And I was inspired by all these early, movers, like Blocket, for example, like Craigslist, like Amazon and stuff. Are you familiar with these services? Blocket is very, it's very Swedish though, but I think it's existing in 17 countries. It's Schibsted's by far most successful company, and Schibsted is one of the most successful media companies in the Nordic region, actually. And it's an only exchange platform. It's a marketplace for old stuff, right? And I thought, if all these companies just upload their contents, making their profiles into a sharing platform, that would be a great way for journalists and other stakeholders to just get access to this and exchange stories, right? So I went to this the future of the web apps in London, very confident with my idea, and to get inspired. And are you familiar with the future of the web apps? It's it's pretty high. How do you say? Highly. It's a great conference actually, where you're discussing the future of the web actually, more or less. So I went to this future of the web apps, FOA it's called, in London in early stage, and I met this American guy there. He was a really nice guy, and I was really passionate about my idea. I was talking about this sharing platform. You can imagine if all these companies just upload their profiles, into a sharing platform. What happens then? You can get in touch with all the people that are interested in the companies, and that would be and they can connect with each other and create networks and stuff. Wouldn't that be a great idea? And he said to me, "Wow, that's exactly what I'm doing." But I'm working with these students on this campus because they don't know each other. It could be tens of thousands of people don't know each other. So if I'm just creating a sharing platform or a network where people can upload their profiles and get in touch with each other, that would be great. Wow, we're doing the same thing. God damn it! Wow. So here's my business card, and I have a handwritten business card by then, and we're the exchange. And that was Mark Zuckerberg, who. invented Facebook, as you might know. And that was in 2004. And what we agreed with each other is that there was a tough game for both of us, especially for me, but even for him, because he realized that people wouldn't prepare to just upload themselves. You know, what happens? I upload my profile. I've never done that. You know, why should I upload my profile? You know, should I connect with others in that way? Well, I don't know. So, never mind, I went from there, and after that, or something in the same time, or maybe I launched my service before that, but never mind, I launched this exchange platform, and as you might know, you don't might know that, but I met Peter at Bray, and I hooked up with him, and I also met David, because he was working at the same place as Peter by then. So this is my two co-founders, and I came up with the idea for him, for these two guys, and we were launching this sharing platform. And David, he's a, how do you say, filmvetare, I don't know word in English, but he's, you know, he's dealing with movies and stuff. He's not an engineer at all, actually, but, you know, he's a really smart guy, and now he's a very successful CTO, so something happened on the road. But never mind, he created this website in a very early stage, and we launched that, and guess what? That was a huge failure. Absolutely nothing happened. There was no activity. No did upload their profiles, and even more or less people just connect to this. It was just totally failure. We was really stressed about that. But as I mentioned, we are entrepreneurs, right? So, and entrepreneurs is not visionary leaders. It's not people coming up with good ideas. It's people that are working hard, they are passionate, they believe what they're doing, they're driven by purpose, and they have a lot of confidence, and they have, they really persist, And we did persist. We did persist for years after it. And I remember Peter was working as kind of a freelancer. He just rented a chair in kind of a marketing agency here in Stockholm, and I was biking to him, and from the beginning I was kind of a visitor to him. So I was sitting there, and he's, how to say, the guy that he rented his chair from, he's starting wondering, what kind of guy is this? He's visiting you all the day. And I remember when I also, starting to cooking food in their kitchen, and I thought, well, wait a minute, this visitor is cooking food, and I'm also biking all the way. If you're familiar with me, I'm biking like 40 kilometers every day. I've done that since 30 years, so I'm kind of a physical guy. And that was my only way to get to the job. So I was biking. As a visitor, I couldn't, just borrow the shower, right? That would be strange if you're just coming into the office and just a visitor and just, can I borrow your shower every day? So I was biking to the park next door, and they have some, how to say, outside showers. So I was, showering outside until the November, I guess. I was standing there, it was freezing. So I was showering there, and I had my clothes in my backpack, and I just dressed up, and I just went to the office. And so that was the beginning of our era. So why do I keep this? I would like to present what kind of a media landscape, how does it look like? Because my news desk by then, this exchange site, this sharing platform, was, as a matter of fact, a great idea. Even if it was a failure from the very beginning. But with some persist, we were successful. But I would like to, show you how we think the media landscape were from the beginning, and how that shifted, and what about the PR landscape and how that's shifting as well. So you can all see here, you sitting back, we'll see what's happening. So how many of you are working as in the media landscape or with PRs before? Are you familiar with the PR and media? Uh-oh. Ulrika, what kind of guys have you? Okay, never mind. Where are you from then? Are you, what are we working with? Are you sales guys, or what are you? Okay, never mind. If you're not so familiar with the media and PR landscape, let me show very shortly how it's, look like, all right? Okay. listen to me. You won't be able to see what I'm writing anyway. Because are you familiar with that? When you're writing on the computers, you can't write anymore with your hands. For me, it's just bleach. So never mind. This is not text though. Environment. Society, whatever. So this is the consumers, right? It's you and me and everybody else, and this is the environment. And this is a traditional media. This is kind of a gatekeeper, right? You know why? Because they do exist of 4 reasons. They are very good to investigate, to find out what's the good stories. They're very good to package these stories, to refine these stories, and they're good to distribute these stories. And the former traditional media, they need how do you say, printing presses and stuff, radio station stuff to deliver stories from the environment to the consumers, right? And that's why it's very few who has been ability to do this stuff, and that's why the gatekeeper position, right? So when you need some stories, when you're looking for the latest news from your topics or your interests, you're heading to this traditional media, right? So, and when it comes to PR, if you're a Volvo, for an example, the only way for you to communicate with your target groups here, the people that matters to you, is go through the traditional media more or less by then, right? And as a matter of fact, these old traditional dinosaurs services like Peer Newswire and Cision and so on, are you familiar with these? No, you're not. Some of you are. They are more or less doing the same thing. They launch a service if you take Cision for an example. It was Cision or whatever. They have a service called The Plan. It's all about find. I said you shouldn't read this. And then you have more or less the connect, which is more or less the same as distribute. And then you have collect, which is the same thing as monitor, what's happened with all your PR communication. And then you have your analyze. So what they're helping Volvo with is to define the people that matters to you in the former world, journalists, right? Because that's what the only one who had the power of influence to the consumers. And they launched, they offered a system where you can, when you find these people, you can distribute your stories to these guys, and you can monitor and see what's happening, right? And you can analyze the result of that and see if you have any revenue on the invest. So this is the communication process, the communication tool. So when Volvo would like to communicate with these guys, they had 3 ways to do that. They could, in the first place, advertise, but that's not PR in common sense. And they could, just write a debate article, or something, or they can work as traditional PR, that you can get in touch with these journalists to find these and get these journalists to write about you and your stories and your industry, right? And the latest one that I mentioned latest, that's what we usually means with PR. Sometimes the media relations is synonymous to PR, right? So. And Cision these guys offer the Volvo services. We have a database of all these guys. So what you need is just to go in and search and find these, who's working with cars and whatever. And we have a distribution systems where you can just publish this stuff and distribute all these to these consumers with different kind of channels. And you can monitor, see if they read this, if you have this under publicity, and you can analyze the result of that, and continues and so on and on and on. All right? So what has my newsletter to do with all about this? Because what I realized already by then, is that this is no more. Because what happened, that this environment just, we went into the same place more or less. You see what I mean? traditional media is just a leftover, or they are inside this as well. So we consumer, we get our inspiration, our information, our knowledge, experiences directly from each other, right? You know why? Because the whole gatekeeper position is no more. What we do have is more kind of a long-tail media landscape. In this part, we have numbers of media consumers, and this number of titles. Medias, more or less. So this is the mass media, right? This part. Very few media reaching a lot of people, right? But 3 factors made this shrink a little bit and this be a really, really long tail. It's so easy for people, though, anyone, to just produce content today, right? We can take photos, we can write stuff, and it's very easy for us to produce content. And the second is, it's so easy for us to just publish ourselves in all this content. I guess you're doing this all the time, every day maybe. You publish your stories, you publish your photos, your videos, and all this stuff that you created, right? And the third thing is, it's very easy for your environment or your people that are interested in you and your content to get in touch with that kind of content, right? Are you with me? Right. And what these kind of factors made that this is shrinking to the benefit of a huge long tail of niche media. From, you got blogs here, you got tweets here, you got bleeps, creeps, fleeps, different kind of strange media, updates, geolocations, blah, blah, whatever. And so, and what companies realize is that this section is the people, or is the people that matters to you most. All these has the most power, the most influence on your market. Not these anymore. Are you with me? Not this one, not this one, not this one, but all these together has an enormous power, enormous influence on your market. And if you look at this once again, then you realize how can Cision, how can Peer Newswire, how can you collect all these people into one media database? You can't, right? And that was the environment that we, or at least I, saw from the very beginning. We will end up here somewhere, and this traditional old school peer services like media databases won't be anymore. It won't exist in the future. So then I created this sharing platform. So I thought a much better way would be to just have a publishing platform, publish, where companies, peer practitioners, could upload all kind of contents that they have, more or less. What kind of a content that is like press releases, it's small news, it's blog postings, it's like photos. Do you catch this? Oh, yeah. So videos. It's like contacts. It's documents. All kind of a content that they could touch in. Oh. And they're sharing all these content to a sharing platform that we call mynewsdesk.com. And in some other countries, DK, FE, SV, whatever. So So what you do is just, publish all this content and make it accessible here. People will come here to this platform, and you can connect with each other here. And then after a while, we realized that we can, share all this kind of content in different kind of ways, because a part of our, idea was to, make all this kind of a content available where journalists and others are looking for the kind of a content. And if you, for an example, if you have a wild guess, what kind of a tool does a journalist using most as a research tool, more or less? Google. So it's very important that you are searchable in Google, and you have all these kind of news, Google News and similar, like MSN News, Yahoo News and stuff. So Google, my news desk. This is, I just write it like this because, but they are these, how to say, Google indexes my news.com, not this kind of a published platform, but I'm just writing this because it's easier to see. So when you publish this, you can make it accessible here, but you can also, make it accessible in Google and Google News and kind of even video and photo sharing, photo search platforms, and you can also have upload them to this kind of social medias. You can also have, of course, upload them to your own newsroom on your website, the homepage. And of course, you can send it by your list as well. If you would like to just, send it directly to some people, you can do that as well. So when we did this, companies reaches far new targets that they never done before. And I remember one of the first customer actually. It's called Skanska. It's a huge construction company. You're familiar with that? And I was bicycling to Skanska. It was in Solna. It's like 15 kilometers from here or something, or 10 kilometers here. So I was biking to the Skanska, and I had this presentation, and he didn't understand anything about it actually, but as you, I guess. But he's really liked my passionate style, and he thinks there was something in it. So and he said, well, I just go for it. How much is it? And I said, well, and he bought it, and I was so happy because that was more or less our first customers. And I was really afraid also because will this work? So he's starting to produce a lot of content. He's published all his kind of contents into this platform and just get access to new kind of customers, or new kind of influencers among the web. And guess what? He suddenly reached totally new people that has a great influence on his market than he ever had done before. And it was really strange. I remember one kind of release that was kind of a, how to say it in English, Skanska is creating one of the world's biggest sports center down in Malmö, building in some, how to say, sustainable material, and it was some kind of a intro, how to say, launch, a released party with Thomas Di Leva, who is one of the musicians, and there was some kind of other parts in this press release. And what's happening is that he got a huge coverage in this tidningen, the paper Miljöaktuellt, which is kind of a sustainable magazine writing about sustainable stuff. And he got coverage in the culture section in some of the biggest papers, and he got coverage in these local papers in Malmö region and so on. And before that, he only sent his information via Cision and stuff to the people that he thought matters most to his market. That was like construction journalists, covering only constructions and stuff. He never sent any information to the people who's writing about Thomas Di Leva, or he never sent anything about people who's working with sustainable constructions, right? So suddenly he just he's reached totally new targets which had great influence on their market. And that's pretty funny. If you just go back to this Blocket phenomena, if you were familiar with Blocket, I would like to sell this cup of coffee. Maybe that's a bad example. I would like to say my bicycle, right? How do I know who is interested in my bicycle or not? Right? If Blocket would have used the old traditional PR way to serve their customers, they would trying to figure out who is interested in bicycles or not, and creating a database with all these stakeholders that might be interested in your bicycle. So you can go into this media database and search for a bicycle and get a list of all these kind of interests or these stakeholders to the potential buyers, and that's just send or distribute information about this bicycle. And of course, that's a ridiculous way to do this, right? So, for example, Blocket just found out this. It's better just if you publish your bicycle and you describe it and what kind of values and stuff, and just share it on the sharing platform, so everybody who is interested in bikes could just grab it. And have you ever sold anything on Blocket? Okay, you realize you just put your stuff there, and suddenly people calling you don't know that it even exists, right? Because they would like your bicycle from Karlskoga or Jönköping or whatever, It's exactly the same with this industry. Okay, you might know who is interested in your bike. So you maybe have a few friends that might be interested. You call them, I thought you were interested in my bike. Maybe you should have a look. So, wow, are you selling the bike now? Oh, I might be interested. So you could do that. But from the bigger perspective, you have no idea who's interested in your bikes. You're just publishing wherever everybody else publishing the bikes, and suddenly people calling for your bike, right? And exactly the same phenomena here. Publish your story, make it accessible all over where people looking for bikes, or not looking for, but looking for stories in these cases, right? So that was exactly what we're doing. And that was a great failure from the beginning. But afterwards, that was a great success, actually. So, questions? No. I should grab another pen. Well, okay, I have one of these.
Don't be scared of the camera if that is making you hesitate to ask questions.
Yeah, just go for it. Maybe I should just go from here. You have to ask one question. So this is what we did, and it was fairly successful after a few years, after all this persist and improvements and stuff that we have to make to just make this work. But to be able to be successful in other countries, we reshape our business case a little bit. We launched a few other features that still helps people to find each other, connect each other, and be able to communicate to each other. And as a matter of fact, this was the plan from the very beginning. But it takes time to realize your dreams. So we had this publishing system. We added. As a matter of fact, we had it from before. I just write it here. Forget about this red stuff. This analyze. We have a small part of this analyze from the beginning. So when you publish all this stuff, like Skanska, for example, they publish all this stuff, and this drive traffic into the system, and they could see what kind of people they reach. So that was great, and Skanska was very happy about this. Thomas Eleven, blah blah blah, and thousands of customers did the same, and they were very happy that. And you could see this in the Analyze tool, exactly how many they were, and in some cases also who they were. But we also launched an Explore section and also a Network section. And this was exactly what I was talking about when I met Mark Zuckerberg in the Future of the Web Apps in London, 2004, whatever it was. But it was very hard for me to realize this from the very beginning. But now we are getting there, and we are far from Facebook, of course. But as a matter of fact, Facebook is kind of a vision for us, because our vision is just to overturn this old traditional PR industry into something worldwide, into something much, much smarter. Okay, so there's two ways to find your influencers, because that's what my news is all about. Find your influencers, the people that matters to you most, the people that has the biggest influence on your market. Not eventually all these people. So if you for example, just creating a Facebook page, you're mostly doing that to get in touch with your market directly, and that's as well is a PR activity. You're creating your Facebook page, and you feed your likers with updates all the time. But who are these likers? Are these the people that matters to you most or not? Most of the companies don't even know who the likers are, But what we do realize is most of them are, customers, existing customers, former customers, people they know that like or, these kind of brands or companies. But I guess very few of these guys has the biggest influence on the market. So my newsletter is all about to find the people that matters to you most. Okay, and there's two ways to do that. Okay, one, we already realized, if you publish your stuff, you will drive traffic to your site, to your system, and from that you will find some of them might be more interesting than others, and you will find out that in your analyze tools, and when you find these people, you will invite them to your network so you can engage with these people further on, right? So when I have speeches, I used to show up a slide. It's about a guy who moved to New York. It was a few years ago, actually, and he had a dream. He would like to be a photographer. And he went there, and he had no awareness at all. He didn't know the town. He didn't know the country. He had no friends. He had no connections whatsoever. A few months after he went there, he was sitting, and I'm showing these slides where he's sitting there with tons of thought leaders within this photographing industry, because photography was why he's moving there. So he's connected with tons of these people, and he has good relations with all these friends. So he was really, really successful. And I'm asking the audience, what do you think he did? Have you any idea? What did he do when he came there with absolutely no awareness? He didn't have no connections, nothing. He didn't even have an apartment. And few months later, he has so much connections, so much, and he had got a great job and so on. What did he do? What did he do? He did PR as it used to be, right? So, and if this guy, I don't remember his name actually, if he would have been a company, we would help his guys to make we would help this company to be as successful that this guy became a few months. So what he did, he published himself. No, he was not sitting in his apartment just waiting for something to happen. He just figured out all kind of places that matters to him, all kind of photo exhibitions, all the kind of photo clubs or photo competitions, and he figured out where all this photo industry happens to be, and he went there. And then, do you know how he went there? Not in his suit. He went there with photo stuff among all these cameras and stuff. So he packaged himself, and when he came there to all these institutions, he's not starting to he's not starting to speak how good he is at photography and stuff. He's starting to listen to these guys, and figure out, and then he's starting to contribute to this environment. And all the people think, this is a really nice guy, and he looks like a great photographer, and they start asking things, and then, you know, they connect to each other, and wow, you have, you know, you're great at this. And you also, you know, put some really lot of efforts to be someone, you know, to be really skilled in what you are doing. So he could contribute to something great when he came to this context. And exactly the same thing for the company. You can't just sit there with your content in your pocket or whatever in your company. You have to go out there. You have to produce great, awesome, remarkable content to be someone, and you have to put this out there where it makes sense, right? So if you don't do it, you're not. You used to call this inbound marketing. You know, to create a lot of good stuff and make it available all over where it makes sense. That will drive traffic, and some of this traffic will be more interesting than others, right? So when we find out what kind of a traffic it is, you invite them to your network, because this part is where you should, you know, connect with the people that matters to you most. It used to be former journalists, and it still is journalists, but some of these journalists have a great impact on your market, great influence on your market, but it might also be your colleague, it might be partners, it might be stakeholders of all kinds, it might be bloggers, whatever. You don't know. Maybe a cloud score, influence index, peer index, whatever will tell you if this guy or woman is influential or not. Does this make sense to you guys? Or am I too confusing? I'm really trying to, you know, I'm not in, my mother's tongue is not English, so I, you know, if I had the chance to do this in Swedish, you'd be much more satisfied, but never mind. I'm trying. And it fits me perfect because I'm moving into the US now, and I should be an ambassador for US, and this be, in a few weeks, maybe you're sitting here with a lot of US guys, and I try to convince these guys. Never mind. So that's one way of two ways to find people. The other way is exploring your environment. You can start to publish yourself, but you can also start with listening. As a matter of fact, you can listen on the whole environment like this. Listening, just access to social media and listening what happenings. And this is the Minuses tool. And we invented a possibility for our companies to just monitor, which means listening to the whole World Wide Web, both social media and traditional media, like, you know, all kind of tweets and blogs and traditional articles and stuff, to see who's talking about you, who's writing about you, who's talking about the topics that you're into, your business, your industry, who's writing about your industry and topics. Because as I said before, it's useless to try, like Cision and Pure Newswire and Business Wire, to, you know, gather all these people into one media database. It's much better to just monitor the whole World Wide Web to find out what kind of people that matters to you most, right? And we are in the early stage, in early phase of this, but already now you can actually monitor who's talking about you and your topics and your industry and your business. So when you just creating this kind of a search terms to, you know, find out that, you will realize that people coming in, more or less interesting people, and when you see this kind of people, you have to, you know, figure out if they are interesting or not. And if they are interesting, just drag them into your contact list and start engage with these people. Invite them to your network and engage with this. And I'm starting to do this for US now, and it's really, really cool. And I made a huge mistake because I invited Steve Jobs and I invited all the, not Steve Jobs, he's dead, but I invited Seth Godin and Chris Brogan and Dan Gilmore and, you know, people that's inspired me, and they don't care about me, right? I'm just nobody for them. Sorry. So even if you find people that really matters to you, they might not be networking you, right? What do you have to do then? you have to be even more remarkable. And if you're really, really remarkable, people will get interested, right? So when you find these people, you drag them into, you invite them to the network, you have to be someone. But I know all companies whatsoever, it doesn't matter how small, how big it is, they can find people that matters to them. So if you don't get so many connections here, people are not, interested to be a part of your network here. Maybe you have to, be a little bit more remarkable, right?
Sorry, can I ask about something? I don't know if
Yes.
you said it, but when you have the contact, are you also networking with them at LinkedIn and so you, or what?
That's an excellent question.
Because of course I have the contact, but I also have to stay in contact with them.
So if I understand you right, okay, LinkedIn is a network as well, and you have your business contacts there. If you find people that are interested in you, invite them to your network, and some of them do, and some of them don't, And if you're really, really eager to, connect with someone, you have to go through your friends because they might be, 2 or 3 steps away. So what's the difference between my newsletters and LinkedIn? Well, that's kind of the question, or what can you use LinkedIn for, and what can you use my newsletters for?
It was just after you have taken your content and you have had some meetings and you have signed up a contract, then it's also a good thing to stay in contact with the companies, and then you can use LinkedIn as a network.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can use LinkedIn as a network, but we are a little bit different from LinkedIn, actually. As a matter of fact, we should have some partnership with LinkedIn, because the difference between LinkedIn and my news desk, we are much smaller though, but is they haven't got this publishing platform, because it's just a network where you have your track record and stuff, but there absolutely is no living room there. This is your living room. As a matter of fact, it's a little bit similar to Facebook. But Facebook, as you might know, is where you connect with friends and family. It's very, friendly. Yeah. Okay, no, they conquer the whole world, so they're trying to, create business pages as well. And, even journalists are supposed to create professional pages for them as the professionals, right? So, but there's no really living room there where you can be invited to, get in touch with all this content, all these stories and stuff. So these peer practitioners are, from the bottom end, creating a newsroom. A newsroom is pretty much a core for peer practitioners, where they could gather all their photos in a photo, photo database, high-resoluted photos and low-resoluted photos as well, videos and stuff, so that people can download this stuff. And this is the public space. But beneath that, you have this private space. Right? Because all these customers have their public newsroom where people, and they can synchronize this newsroom with this Facebook, and can get out this content in different kind of environments. But if you would like to follow these people, to be part of the network, you're invited to exclusive information, the information that not everybody get in touch, get in hold of, right? For example, I would love to network with Apple, for an example, because I would like to be one of them that is trying to get the information first about the iPhone 5, for an example. And even better if I have the chance to try this phone first of all, guys. But if I'm trying to connect with Apple, unfortunately they are not customers to us yet, but Google are, I guess I wouldn't be qualified to be the core network of these. I guess there's some Financial Times, whatever, who is the core network. But I can still follow these guys and get the public stuff from them. But to be the exclusive group, the YIP people, to get in touch and to get in hold of this exclusive information first, that is what journalists are striving for all the time, and not only journalists, but also thought leaders, wait 1 second. Because there is something which journalists have in common with thought leaders and other authorities. Do you know what that is? Information advantage. You know, there's tons of bloggers and thought leaders and spokesmen and everything. And how they are creating, the authority for them are very important, right? And how they're creating authority is to get the information first before everybody else. So people come to you to access to this latest information about iPhone 5 and so etc. And how do you get the latest information about the iPhone 5? To be a part of the exclusive group within the network, the Apple network, right? So that's the base of the whole PR industry. I come to your question very soon. Say one thing. As a matter of fact, the base of the whole PR industry from the very beginning, from the old chat Greece, thousands of years ago, is that before you make your stories public, you're trying to get in contact with your people that matters to you most, by phone or you're calling your friends, you're calling your closest network that you have created relationships since years ago, and it's you usually say like this: "Hi there, Bjorn. Nice to meet you. Great article." I'm the company now. I'm the PR practitioner. Great article. Wow, it was great. As a matter of fact, I found a report that you might be interested in. You can read it. Bjorn, I'm coming out with a new phone here in a few months, and I thought you might be interested in this phone. It's really magic one because it's sustainable, blah blah blah, and you can to try this phone before everybody else, because I'm thinking of release these stories in a few weeks or whatever. And Bjorn says, wow, yes, that sounds interesting. Send it over to me and send a quick note of what it's all about, and we figure out. So what they do is kind of a marketplace, So you give these guys the exclusive information in exchange for a story, right? And when all this happens, then you release this for the public later on. And exactly what you're trying to do with this network. You're inviting these people to your network that matters to your modes, that have this exchange willingness, and when you have the stories, exchange it with your network first, and then you go public, right? There are different kind of rules for investor relations. The people the companies who are in, how do you say, noterade, stock exchange, whatever. Oh. Listed. Yeah, listed companies, because they have to go to the market right in the beginning. The unique selling point for us, if you compare with LinkedIn, for example, or Facebook, or whatever, is that it is these kind of features together. This network is absolutely nothing new about this network. This is a really bad feature actually for the moment, because it's just the early phase. But the unique selling point and the value proposition is to have this network in combination with this publishing platform and this your newsroom. So if you go to any company, most of them have their newsrooms, right? So, and I used to actually ask, if I'm sitting with your potential customers or your customers, and I ask them, you all got newsrooms, right? Yeah, we got newsrooms, okay. How many visited your newsroom yesterday? Well, I don't know. Okay, and some of them know because they have Google Analytics or something, you can find out, okay, who are they? Oh, they don't know who they were, So what you would like, when you have put so much effort to create your newsroom with all kind of high resolution photos and videos and stuff, and you really, make it cozy and interesting and in your newsroom, and you don't even know who's coming there. You don't know who they are and why they came and so on. The only way for the moment to know who they are is to invite them, to let them follow you, to let them be a part of your newsroom, right? So if you're comparing with LinkedIn, for example, okay, you can have a company page on LinkedIn, But that's really crappy services. You can have a profile on LinkedIn as a professional, right? And this is a great way to connect with each other. But you're not able to, create your cozy living room in LinkedIn. This is just a very traditional content management system, when you can manage all kind of contents. It's not traditional though. It's very, modern. But it's, it's likely WordPress or whatever. The difference is that you can, upload all kind of raw material, like, real high-resolution photos and videos and stuff, and you can't do that on WordPress. You can't create your newsroom, and your newsroom here is a very important place for you to make your content accessible, for you to be able to reach the people that matters to you. But it's not even only your newsroom, it's even the Google, and it's Google News, and it could be your video sharing. And you can also synchronize your content with your social media accounts, like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and stuff, right? So you can make your content not only available here, but only here. But this is your newsroom. This is a cozy living room. And as a matter of fact, the inner part of this newsroom, where you got your exclusive information, that's where you have your wine and stuff. I don't know how to explain this better, but if you I get back to your question. If you look for Facebook, for an example, and you would like to invite your friends that matters to you most to your crawfish party. Okay, that was a strange example, but okay, your crawfish party. So you don't want to invite all these 500-600 friends. Some of them you don't even know, but happens to be friends, so you won't dare to ignore them. So you select kind of a selection of these guys, and only these guys will be invited to your crawfish party. The bad thing is that you can't have your crawfish party on Facebook. You have to drag them home to you or to another place, right? But in this case, you can actually drag your people, the VIP people here, VIP people, into your living room at my news desk, where they can, got the exclusive information of all kind. Thank you very much. And please. I'm always online, and I'm always not always here. But please, get in touch with me, ask questions. I'm here for you guys.